Hi, this is Druss, and this is my world, Druss, that can be found on the Darwin Reforged server, which is a Conquest Reforged server using the Conquest Reforged mod. Now, this world of mine, Druss, is going to be a fantasy type or medieval type world, and this island is the first part of that world that's fully completed. It's a mage's island or a wizard's island, and as you can see, it's on a bit of a plateau. Now, initially I had intended to build a ramp going up towards the island to meet the land itself, but I decided against that, and I decided to use something a little more unusual. I decided to go with a lift system that functions with counterweights and a pulley. The mechanism is meant to be used here, which pulls the lifts up and down, and subsequently use the counterweights, and then uses a second lift here to get onto the island proper. Now, when you get onto the island itself is quite verdant and green, very lush. This is deliberate. I wanted to give the island something of an overgrown quality. I used our custom plugins, a biome brush, to give the island some microbiomes of maybe a block or two in diameter, which is why you can see different coloured grasses in the same area. The first structure on the island that you will find is just an old mausoleum, which is again slightly overgrown. Every tree is custom built. Everything on the island, every layer has been put there by hand. I had a little bit of help with the border of the island. There's a hedgerow that crosses a lot of the island around the border. That was built by Scout F. Maximus, a friend of mine on Darwin, who also built this pergola, and it's gorgeous. Again, it fits in very well with the theme. So as you walk up the path, you come across a small stream and bridge. Under the bridge there is a little Easter egg, a troll, taken from the fable, the Billy Groat's Gruff. Again, it's just a small little Easter egg. And the path divides down to this structure here, which is a magical tower type thing. We could go up, but I won't bother. There's actually the tower itself, as you can see, the diameter is quite small. There's very little by way of decoration in the tower, owing to the fact that it's so narrow, and narrows considerably towards the top, which is topped off with a sort of magical floating sphere that looks quite akin to the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. That wasn't intentional, it's just the way it worked out. Each tree will have some small little details like nests and wildlife within it. And there's also a small rune here. The intention behind this island was that the mage built his residence on top of an older structure, a more ancient structure, possibly of elvish nature, and this rune is supposed to indicate that. As you can see there, it's so long forgotten and destroyed that there's an actual tree growing up through the center, which has a little foxhole in it. And we follow the path along. We come across just a small orchard. Again, not a huge amount to be seen in the orchard, just a collection of some apples. And this structure here is the observatory, and the observatory is topped with a large telescope, and these wheels here are meant to indicate that the entire roof or the top floor of the observatory can be rotated in order to track the stars and constellations as they move across the sky. And again, in the interior here, you can see the structure or the mechanism has these is wheeled again, just to indicate that the entire roof can rotate, so the mage is able to fully track the movements of the stars and the constellations in the celestial sphere. As you can see, the mechanism of the telescope is that it can go up and down and can be viewed from here, this point here. Now we'll just take a quick tour through the actual observatory itself. The bottom floor is a small little cartography room with a toilet or privy. The second floor is a fairly opulent study. Again, with hopefully some of the decoration in keeping with the idea of it being an observatory. A small little balcony for the mage to, play games and just relax while looking out over his property. The third floor has it's a small little dining hall, again with a nice balcony. And then you come up onto the observatory proper itself, again with a small balcony looking out over the sea. As we follow the path around, then again there's more evidence, again hopefully, of wildlife and just being generally overgrown. We come across the next structure, which is the mage's greenhouse. Now within this greenhouse itself, I wanted to indicate kind of more outlandish, magical plants that usually wouldn't be found outside a greenhouse or outside in growing on the island itself naturally. So I kind of went a little bit more crazy than I usually do. I used very bright leaf blocks, or different coloured leaf blocks that I typically wouldn't use. So very bright yellows, browns, whites, in order to give the greenhouse a very colourful interior. And hopefully I succeeded in that. Again, lots of butterflies again to indicate that it's quite verdant. Around the greenhouse there's a small little wild area, an overgrown wilderness with a small pond, a small seating area. But again, this whole area here is very, very overgrown, has been left to go wild and to just, again, it's unkempt and not managed at all. The final structure before the house as we follow the path is a pagoda. Just again, it's a small little relaxation area for the mage to relax in. The ceiling is very ornate, again hopefully to give some sort of impression that of wealth, and also of more of I suppose a learned and esoteric look. And then eventually you come to the house, the residence, which is again on a more raised area, so required steps to go up. The house itself has a very Tudor feel to it. I struggled with the idea of the house initially. I was struggling between the idea of going completely fantasy or grounded somewhat in reality. I eventually decided to ground it somewhat in reality. I wanted it to be in keeping with the rest of the world, which will be again medieval, and there will be a lot of Tudor bills and that sort of thing within the actual world itself. We'll take a small tour around the grounds before we visit the house. So again, the garden very, very unkempt, some old structures and sculptures that are largely overgrown and mossy, some small seating areas and tool areas, that sort of thing. We can follow down here again an overgrown seating area, wind vane or weather vane to tell the direction of the wind, a small sundial, a small beehive, so an apiary, and we follow it around. We come to some, again, ruined sculptures, that because it's ancient, and a grave. On this part of the garden is just a midden heap, or a compost heap that's hot from the decomposition of the organic matter, and a small little vegetable garden or herb garden, and a small structure, a small dovecote, so the mage can send messages to his fellow mages or whomever he wishes outside. And finally there's a seating area looking over the sea and a magnificent ship. Now this ship was donated or built for me by one of our resident shipwrights on Darwin Reforged Catskill. I'll just sweep in to have a look at it because it deserves almost its own episode. It's magnificent. Catskill based it on, I believe, the Queen Anne's Revenge, and it's absolutely just gorgeous. Beautiful work by a man. I'm so grateful for Catskill for having built it for me. Now we come up here, and around the house there's a small little barbecue area, a well that has a secret attached to it, and just general bric-a-brac around the house. A small little area for the wizard to be a bit more mundane and dry clothes, that sort of thing, so washing line. And we finally come to this bit, a small little bird bath, and we come down here. Now this again is in keeping with the more ancient elvish history of the house and the island, that there is some standing stones that are meant to be magical, or again just indicate the greater age of the island, and that there was something here prior to the wizard having built his house here. Again, just some small seating areas, just give the whole house a lived-in look. Now to look at the house. Okay, so we'll just go floor by floor in the house. You begin by coming into a reception room, a nice fireplace. I think the fireplace was done by Astoria. And then another small little reception room, and this fireplace I think was done by Scout. And then into the study, which is entirely myself. The study is just the usual study, just some decorations, some furniture, lots of books, bookcases, that sort of thing. The study leads into the kitchen with a oven, some airflow windows, and the kitchen actually leads out to the little outdoor area where the clothes are and that sort of thing. So not much to be said about the kitchen. Hopefully, typically kitchen stuff within it, plates, etc., weights, some place for drink. The kitchen leads into the dining room fairly logically. I think this fireplace was done by Brick Alchemist, but I honestly can't remember. There's a stairs up and also a stairs over here that goes down into the cellar / dungeon area, and that's again back into the first reception room. And this is a little museum with some artifacts and that sort of thing, magical books. And we'll go down to the cellar. Now the cellar starts out with a storeroom, just normal bric-a-brac, that sort of thing. And then we come into the bit more unusual bit. It's a small Easter egg / joke. I created a dungeon for some of the staff members and some other members of Darwin that used to be staff members or would be on quite a lot. So this poor individual here is Cheese Nubs, former owner of the server. Unfortunately he's moved on, but he is having his blood drained to be put into a zombie super soldier sort of thing. And we come out here. This is just a little area for the guards to rest and relax. Then we have Katsko, the builder of our ship, who's a little cell of his own. Privy, a very dank, dirty privy and some more storage. This individual here is called Fetters. He's a staff member. He's the guard, and this is his room here to relax again. A bit more of a private officer's room. This is where Scout and Estrella have to stay, and they unfortunately have to deal with the fumes from the privy, which is vented into their room. His Digginess, the server owner, is chained up without pants, and Nikki and Spartan also have to share a room of their own. Spartan is getting sick and Nikki is a little bit miffed by that. And finally, we have a very good friend of mine who's a YouTuber, Sir Geeky Gamer, who I felt deserved a room of his own as well. Now we move down towards, there are some more areas. This is XT, that's his little cell. We call him the wholesome one. Jurpak, someone has clearly been visiting here because they've left all the doors open. An area for Liz, who built Dionysus, a fantastic Roman build, and a place for Jedybell, who's caged up and hanging from his arms. Now we'll just quickly go down here. This is our ice room for cold storage, and this leads down to one of the Easter eggs, a secret escape route from the house that leads to the well on the exterior of the house. So we'll just go back now, if I can find my way back, which is a little more difficult because it can be quite difficult to make out with the sandstone. And as we go deeper into the cellars, there's one more. There's a cell for Drage. There's another former staff member, and you're starting to come across some bits of architecture that again indicate that the house is built on older elvish foundations. And this is just a little sally port, a little escape route should the wizard ever need it to get out to the sea. And a little gibbet there holding Acqui, who requested to be part of the build and have her own little armor stand person in, as we quickly sweep around the house again. So we'll go up onto the first floor. And again, the first floor has various rooms, a little sitting room, a storage area, a library with again a little seating area or study, and a privy. And as we go around, there is a bathroom and a little balcony for him to look out at the sea. And one of the Easter eggs of the plot is my Narnia wardrobe, which had been opened by whoever was in here last, not myself unfortunately. So the idea being that this wardrobe leads off to another dimension. Again inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This floor, as I recall, is the guest floor as such. Again, there's a little storage area. This part here leads out onto the old tower. Some small bedrooms. A bathroom. A little living room for the guests, with a little small fire stove to keep the room warm, and a bigger suite bedroom, again with just some storage area, some wardrobes, and finally one more little bedroom with furniture and wardrobes, that sort of thing, some storage areas. Now we move up towards, I think, almost the top floor, and we have I created this wolf skin carpet using the proprietary wolf skin from CR, and also an armor stand with a Minecraft head. And this is the master bedroom. It has 2 balconies, a large 4-post bed, the second balcony, and also has its own living room off it with its own small little bathroom. On this floor too, there is a second master bedroom, a smaller one, again with its own balcony looking out onto the Queen Anne's Revenge, and a small bathroom for this floor too, for this bedroom even. Now finally, on the top floor of the attic area, there is a little magical area, a little crystal ball sort of thing that's surrounded by magical energy. A little seating area, and again a kind of a study with the most dangerous of books, the Necronomicon from H.P. Lovecraft. Now there's a timer there because the intention was you can only spend a certain amount of time reading the evil grimoire without going insane, so it's caged away and safely. Now you can access the tower again from here, but I will go to the ground floor to access the tower properly, and we'll go through it floor by floor. As you can see, each floor has its own decoration, that sort of thing. So here we are, we can access the tower properly from here, from the museum. Okay, so let's begin. As we go up the narrow stairs, the stairs winds around the edge of the tower. We come across the first room, which is a meeting room. Not really much to be said about it. Just a meeting room table, little bookshelf. And then we come to the portal room, which has a otherworldly, hellish sort of feel to it. Now that portal itself, you will actually access one of the main plots areas on the server, plots 1. And we go upwards to the cartography room. And again, just little instruments for mapping, little map table, that sort of thing. This floor is the lab, the laboratory. Some ingredients from potion making, that sort of thing. The idea was that this is where the mage comes to brew his various potions, that sort of thing. Now again, this floor is a bit of an Easter egg. It's 2 of our resident builders, Sir Dialot, who is sacrificing Indy, or Tech Scammer as he's now known. Again, that's sort of a dark feel to the room, ritualistic, that sort of thing. The next floor is the main library. Again, not much to be said about that. A room covered with books. It does the job. And finally, the top floor, which was built by, actually, it was decorated by Scout again, who offered to do it and did a magnificent job. It's a study slash greenhouse area for the growth of magical plants, that sort of thing. So an arboretum, I suppose you could call it, mainly, and that leads up to the very top level of the tower, which is just encased around the actual pointed roof. And that is the house in its entirety. Between the tower, which was the idea of the tower was that, as I said, I wanted to have the house slightly grounded in reality and in keeping with the rest of the world, but I had to give some indication that a wizard lived there, so that was the tower itself, which is attached rather awkwardly to the house. The house has various dormer windows of different sizes, and again even smaller ones, and the chimneys. And we'll do one last sweep around the island. And there we have it. It can be found on the Darwin Reforged server. You would have to download the Conquest Reforged mod pack, and then you can access the server. It's play.darwinreforged.com. This world is, as I said at the beginning, Druss, and this particular island can be visited using the command warp Yaztromo's island. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will hopefully maybe doing more videos in the future. We shall see, depending on how much interest I get. But for now, thank you very much, and goodbye.